Hello, my name's Erika Saucedo. I'm a board certified ophthalmologist, and I wanted to bring up something I noticed this last week. I have had so many patients with anxiety, depression, or both. And I don't know, that might be my reticular activating system, right? There's an area in our brain where once we've noticed something, then we start to notice it again, right? It's like when your friend mentions something and then you see it again later and later. It's actually, the thought is that we've just become aware of it. So I don't know if it's because I am more aware that and I'm looking at my patient's past medical history and seeing the anxiety, depression, or I feel like it's more prevalent. And the other thing that happened was a couple weeks ago, at my son's high school, a senior committed suicide. And then a week later, another senior committed suicide. And by the way, my heart goes out to Emily and Connor and their families. But I had a conversation with one of my patients yesterday that made me think about all of these things. And she had anxiety and depression. And, I told her some things that I do. And one of them is to say, it's just a thought. It's just a thought that's coming. But thinking about those kids that took their lives, they were healthy and young, came from what I understand good families, this, money, maybe not tons of money, but enough money for sure. And then this is obviously my hypothesis. I could be wrong. I don't know what was going on in the minds of these children, but ultimately, health, wealth, all of that was there. So, they ended their lives because of their thoughts, right? And so it makes you realize how powerful our thoughts are. And so when I was talking to my patient, I remembered this book that I read to my kids when they were little, and it's called Tiger, Tiger, Is It True? And what's awesome is it's written by Byron, and she has something called The Work. And so you can go to her website. It's called thework.com, and to look up more on that, and I'll put a link below. But I just wanted to read in the very beginning, it's a note from Byron. I'm not going to read all of it, but there's this one part that I just think is really important. She writes, "Since the beginning of time, people have been trying to change the world so that they can be happy. This hasn't ever worked because it approaches the problem backward. What the work gives us is a way to change the projector, the mind, rather than the projected. It's like when there's a piece of lint on a projector's lens. We think there's a flaw on the screen and we try to change this person and that person, whoever the flaw appears to be on next. But it's futile to try to change the projected image. Once we realize where the lint is, we can clear the lens itself. This is the end of suffering and the beginning of a little joy in paradise." Okay, so what does that mean? Right? Because it's like, all right, so I know all of this, and it's very hypothetical, but how do I get there? And so she has these 4 questions and the turnaround. So the first question is it true? So let's say, for example, I have a thought that I'm a terrible doctor and I'm just not good enough. I'll ask myself, okay, I realize I have that thought. It's making me feel bad, right? And I say, is it true? And I say yes, because whatever it is that gave me that thought, I saw this patient, I wasn't able to help him, for example. So then the second question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? So then I would say, well, I can't absolutely be sure that I'm a terrible doctor and I'm not good enough, because I have helped other patients. So no, for the second question. And then the third question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? And the way that I think of this question is, does this thought serve me? So when I think the thought, I'm a terrible doctor and I'm not good enough, how does it make me feel? It makes me feel like shit. So this is a thought that does not serve me, right? It's just a thought. And right now I just said, I don't even know if it's true. Most of our thoughts aren't true, by the way, right? Okay, so this thought is making me feel like shit and I don't even know if it's true. The fourth question, who would you be without the thought? So how would I feel without this thought of I'm a terrible doctor and I'm not good enough? How would I feel without that thought? I would feel free, right? I would feel lighter. I'd feel better. So I really like this because this is a way to, what everybody says, right? Like, oh, you are not your thoughts. Okay, so I know I'm not my thought. And no shame in your thoughts. You can't help your thoughts. You can't help what pops into your mind. But you can decide what you do with that thought. You can create a little space, right? And the way that I see that as well is, if we don't know there's a hole in the boat, you can't fix it. So if you're feeling like shit, that's your thoughts. And so right there, that's the hole in the boat. So if you can think that right now, you're halfway there. So you're realizing, oh, I'm feeling like shit right now because of my thoughts. So what are those thoughts? Oh, I'm a terrible doctor and I'm not good enough. That just made it, like not being able to help that patient made me feel like shit. And now these thoughts are coming. So going through it now, is it true? Is it absolutely true? How does it make me feel? Does it serve me, right? That's the third question. How does it make me feel, or does it serve me? And then who would I be without it? Therefore, I'm going to release it, right? And I can just let that thought go. And I love the saying, it's just a thought. It's just a fucking thought. Is really what I tell myself sometimes. Sorry for the F-bomb. And then what Byron Katie then says is the turnaround. So turn it around. Find at least 3 specific, genuine examples of how the turnaround is true in your life. So in my example, I'm a terrible doctor, I'm not good enough. 3 turnarounds. Well, I've actually helped quite a few patients. I feel really good when I help patients, so I think that shows that I am not a terrible doctor and I am good enough. And, a lot of my patients love me, and thank me and are grateful. So those are 3 genuine examples of me not being a terrible doctor, and yes, me being enough. And that makes me feel better. And now I feel lighter, right? And the more you do this, I know it sounds, you're saying that's easy, easier said than done, because all these thoughts we have. But that's why it's called the work, right? Is the more you do this, the more easier it becomes. And I can tell you this truthfully, as a 50-year-old who's had many, 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 many negative thoughts in her life. But it really does work. The other thing that I think about that may be helpful for you is, remember the movie The Matrix? It's my favorite movie, by the way. There's a scene where Morpheus is talking to Neo, and Neo is the chosen one, right? He doesn't know he's the chosen one at this point, which is you right now. You don't realize who you are, right? You don't realize the power you have, but you can, right? And so Neo looks at Morpheus and he says, so you're telling me that someday I'll be able to dodge bullets? And Morpheus looks at Neo and says, no, I'm telling you someday you won't have to. And the way that I see that is, a spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen The Matrix, I'm going to spoil it because I'm going to jump to the end. What happens is, at the end of the movie, Neo is enlightened. And you can see it in him. Something in him shifts. And he realizes, just like I hope you realize, he realizes who he is. And so the agents are chasing him. And what they've always done is they've always ran from the agents, right? But instead of running from the agents, at the very end, he turns around and he takes this, I don't know if this is the correct order, but he takes this deep breath. To me, it's just like he knows who he is. In German, confidence, the word confidence is Selbstbewusst. Selbstbewusst literally means knowing thyself, right? He knows who he is. He takes this deep breath. The agents shoot their bullets, shoot their guns at him, and the bullets are coming at him. And ever so gently, Neo says, no. And he puts his hand out and he stops the bullets. The way that I see that is those are our thoughts. You can't help your thoughts. They're going to come. Those bullets are going to come. But whether they hurt you or not, right, is up to you. And so he says no, and he grabs a bullet and he looks at it. And that's exactly the work. Let's look at our thoughts. Is this serving me? Is this bullet going to make me feel good? No. And he drops it, right? Releasing our thoughts. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. Letting it go. Not holding on to it and then creating a story and spiraling like I used to do. No judgment, and still sometimes do, right? Anyway, I just want you to feel good because it's a whole new world. And to think of people suffering, right? My patients, these 2 teenage kids, which I'm sure there's many more. You, if you're suffering, you know, my heart goes out to you and I send my love to you. And I really want you to feel better because you can. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Sorry I got emotional, but I really do feel it. And I truly, truly send all my love and light to you. Okay.